Good afternoon and welcome back to Moneycontrol live stream. You're watching the closing bell. I'm Santosh Nair.
And I am Yatin Mota.
Benchmark indices managed to snap a 3-day losing streak. The Sensex and Nifty closing slightly higher today in volatile trade. Second line shares continue to find takers. Once again, they fared better than the top line stocks. Among the prominent gainers today, we had mostly shares from the banking and auto sectors, whereas the prominent losers were from the IT, FMCG, metal and pharma sectors. A dramatic turnaround in fortunes for pharma stocks. Yesterday they were among the big gainers, but today they however could not sustain at higher levels. The India VIX was down by about 2% to 11.91. Now that's been the interesting thing. Yatin, can be interpreted both ways.
Yeah.
One is that market is pretty bullish in its outlook, but at the same time probably the bulls might be getting too complacent also.
Yeah, Santo, I think the market now, which has been in a range for the last couple of days, in fact Monday, Tuesday were where the Nifty lost the most, but last 2 days typically have been quiet. In fact, the expiry has been quiet, clearly indicating that volumes are low and there is stock specific action. In terms of earnings, probably after Infosys TCS, market is waiting for big boy Reliance's Industries result outlook. We also have HCL Technologies, which will be reporting numbers anytime soon. So these are the two important numbers in which markets will probably take a stance, take a direction, because again these are the two stocks which have good weight on the indices. So let's see how really do these earnings shape up, especially for Reliance, because we have three big verticals for the company, which is oil and gas, retail, as well as telecom, and all of them have been very big in terms of market share, and each segment's commentary would be important for the markets as well.
In the Nifty, among the prominent gainers today, we had Tata Motors, NTPC, HDFC Life, Asian Paints and Adani Ports. Now, Adani Ports has said that its board would be meeting this Saturday to consider partial debt repayment. So that's what seems to have triggered buying interest in the stock today. Whereas among the prominent losers, we had Divi's Labs, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Hindustan Unilever and Eicher Motors. Yatin, the fourth quarter numbers that we've been seeing largely mixed, but as far as the mid cap is concerned, from the hotel industry, you seem to be getting some pretty decent numbers, though, although the stocks are not been performing.
Yeah, and there is seasonality, there is this big New Year celebrations, and the kind of general traction that Q4 has for the wedding season as well as for the leisure season could benefit hotel stocks. In fact, most of these hotel companies, Santo, were guiding that the closing quarter, which is Q4, will be very strong in terms of realization. So they will probably reach utilizations which are above the pre-COVID levels, and the average room rental which will be above the pre-COVID levels. So these are the few figures that we'll be watching out for. Last quarter, probably stocks like Indian Hotels, ITC, or for that matter EIH did not move despite strong results, because there was some pricing in. But now in the fourth quarter you could see some good momentum, plus the kind of management commentary for FY24 in terms of outlook, how has really been the holiday season bookings, and so on and so forth, would be important to watch out for.
Well, and with that, let's move on to the stocks on our watch list this afternoon, starting with ITC. Yatin, what a dramatic comeback it has been by ITC. Not long back it was being trolled as a meme stock, and how it has managed to prove its detractors wrong.
In fact, Santo, the more you abused ITC at 200 levels or sub 200 levels, the more the stock went up. And this price on your screen, which is about 400 rupees, it is X of 3-4 dividends of the last 2 years. So clearly the stock has been really doing well, and as you mentioned, people are trolling, and now this has become a market darling.
And brokerage house CLSA has retained its buy rating on the stock, and it has upgraded its price target for ITC to 435 rupees. ITC clearly has been one of the best performers of 2023 as well in the FMCG pack. Now, according to ITC, the re-rating catalysts have been playing out well, and further corporate action is awaited. One of the key things that the market would be keeping an eye out for is the demerger of the hotel business. In fact, that's something that the market has been waiting for quite some time now. And according to CLSA, better capital allocation, margin improvement in the FMCG business and value unlocking will be some of the key triggers for the company. And at the same time, as Yatin also mentioned a short while back, the strong dividend payments by ITC also kind of limits downside in the stock, because at current prices the stock almost has a 4% dividend yield. CLSA has raised its FY24 and FY25 earnings per share estimates for the company.
Absolutely, and this is one stock we'll watch out for. But Santo, I also have a stock which has been quite abused, or rather trolled on social media, which is Paytm. Now, after Macquarie and various other brokerages, Motilal Oswal has come out with a initiating coverage report on Paytm. Paytm पे मोतीलाल का टारगेट जो है वो है 865 रुपीज़, यानी करंट मार्केट प्राइस से मोतीलाल ओसवाल को लगता है स्टॉक में 30 to 35% की अपसाइड है. क्यों है? क्योंकि जो कोर फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज बिजनेस है, जो लोन डिसबर्समेंट ग्रोथ है, और इन जनरल कंपनी अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे इंश्योरेंस से लेके म्यूचुअल फंड्स बेचती है, यहाँ से प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी और ट्रैक्शन काफ़ी अच्छा आ सकता है. इनफैक्ट जीएमवी में मोतीलाल ओसवाल को लगता है 27% की CAGR ग्रोथ रहेगी आने वाले 2 सालों में. और अगर हम लोन डिसबर्समेंट्स की बात करें तो अ वॉपिंग 64% ग्रोथ इज एक्सपेक्टेड टिल FY25. तो लोन डिसबर्समेंट कंपनी का अच्छा कर रहा है. ऑब्वियसली एक हैंगओवर रहेगा कंपनी का, क्योंकि नया क्लाइंट ऑनबोर्ड नहीं कर पा रहे हैं ये लोग RBI के रिस्ट्रिक्शन की वजह से, लेकिन कंपनी ने ये कहा है कि वो क्लोजली RBI के साथ वर्क कर रहे हैं इश्यूज़ को रिजॉल्व करने में. तो देखा ही जाएगा पेटीएम का शेयर भी कैसे आउट परफॉर्म करता है. रिसेंट लो से अच्छे से बाउंस हुआ है स्टॉक, लेकिन कितना सस्टेन होगा, क्योंकि काफ़ी सारे इन्वेस्टर्स यहाँ एग्जिट लेना चाहते हैं, इंक्लूडिंग सॉफ्ट बैंक, अली पे, क्योंकि इन्होंने रिसेंटली शेयर्स भी बेचे हैं. तो देखा ही जाएगा कैसे ये शेयर्स का ट्रांजैक्शन होता है, अगर होता है तो. लेकिन हाँ, फंडामेंटली काफ़ी सारे ब्रोकर्स को अब लगता है पेटीएम के शेयर में वैल्यू है.
My only crib against the story, Yatin, here is that it is still a case of losses narrowing than the profits really getting big. The company has set out some ambitious timelines for
adjusted EBITDA positive targets.
Yeah, exactly. So the key will be whether those timelines are met and the company will be able to break even. And the other point, again, as Yatin here mentioned, is the spate of private equity investors who are on their way out, and that somehow has been limiting the upside in Paytm over the last many months. Last stock on my watch list is ICICI Securities. The stock was among the big losers today, down about 4%, and the numbers, the fourth quarter earnings of the company were just about okay. Sequentially, it has degrown a bit. Now, Yatin, again, the overall the outlook for the broking sector in general continues to remain quite bearish at this point in time. You had angel numbers which were pretty decent, however, the market has not really, the market does not seem really excited about those numbers. And today, after ICICI Securities numbers, again you saw the stock taking a beating today. Now, Citi has retained its sell rating on the stock on ICICI Securities. The main worry for Citi is that overall the number of retail investors who were stampeding into the market till some time back, that is clearly receding, and also you have the market which has been pretty choppy and volatile over the last 1 year. So, that would also be keeping investors hesitant from coming into the market. But at the same time, ICICI Securities has been investing heavily in other lines of business. It has been trying to grow its distribution and wealth management business. So, in the short term, clearly there is some pressure because of the broking business not doing all that well, and at the same time you have the expenses into the new line of business. So, that could be a drag on earnings in the short term. The key thing to be keeping an eye out for will be the traction in both the distribution as well as the wealth management business.
Absolutely, and when it comes to ICICI Securities or any brokerage, सीजनैलिटी और साइक्लिकलिटी ये होती है, क्योंकि मार्केट्स भी अप और डाउन साइकिल्स में चलते हैं, और उसी हिसाब से ब्रोकर का क्लाइंट एडिशन और ब्रोकर का वॉल्यूम भी चलता है. तो राइट प्राइस पे और राइट टाइम पे एग्जिट काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है इन सब स्टॉक्स में. तो ये बात हुई ICICI सिक्योरिटीज़ की. और आखिरी स्टॉक जो मेरे रेडार पे है वो कॉनकॉर, यानी कंटेनर कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया. यहाँ गोल्डमैन सैक्स का एक अपग्रेड रिपोर्ट आया 720 के टारगेट के साथ. और कॉनकॉर की अगर हम बात करें तो जो रेलवेज़ का कंटेनराइजेशन हो रहा है, यानी रेलवेज़ का जो लॉजिस्टिक्स पुश मिल रहा है, डेडिकेटेड फ्रेट कॉरिडोर से जो बेनिफिट मिलने वाला है, शायद उससे कॉनकॉर की अर्निंग्स अच्छी होंगी. अगर आप पिछले काफ़ी सालों का मीडियन वैल्यूएशन देख लें तो उस वैल्यूएशन के नीचे अब आपको स्टॉक मिल रहा है, इसीलिए गोल्डमैन सैक्स को ये अट्रैक्टिव लग रहा है। ऑब्वियसली जब अदानी ग्रुप का फॉल शुरू हुआ तब लोगों को लगता था कि स्ट्रेटेजिक डाइवेस्टमेंट में अदानी जो कि एक पोटेंशियल बिडर या बायर के तरीके से दिख रहा था कॉनकॉर के लिए, वो फॉल के बाद यहाँ भी आपको करेक्शन मिला और गोल्डमैन सैक्स को लगता है कि जिस हिसाब से रेलवेज को एक एडवांटेज है इंडिया में लॉजिस्टिक्स का वर्सेस रोड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, वो बरकरार रहेगा और जैसे कि मैंने पहले कहा वैल्यूएशन अट्रैक्टिव और इसीलिए यहाँ वो अपने क्लाइंट्स को खरीदारी की सलाह दे रहे हैं।
The stock no doubt has fallen quite steeply from about 800 levels, and at these levels probably there is a case for the valuations having become somewhat reasonable. Clearly the divestment trigger, that is something that will still be under a cloud. Also the one negative for Concor at this point in time is clearly there are signs of global trade slowing down a bit, and to offset that Concor has been trying to grow the domestic part of its business. And the returns have been decent. In fact, it's trying to increase the share of its domestic business, change the proportion, which is right now close to about 70-30 in favor of its overseas business. But however, Concor is trying to kind of change the ratio to about 40-60 over a period of time.
Absolutely.
Well, and with that, it's a wrap on this episode of Closing Bell. Thank you for watching.
जुड़ने के लिए बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद.
And we'll be back with you again at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. In the meantime, for all news, views, analysis, stay logged on to moneycontrol.com.